we'll write, it's Sylvia DeWitt, it told Debbie.
Yeah, because she doesn't say, you know.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
He, his quality of life, ever since he had that thing, just has not been good. Oh, I know,
Shabbat shalom. We missed an interesting discussion. I think we enjoyed it. You talked to get up that early, and that I know the feeling, but I managed to fight it. So. We have a nice group in there.
Oh, yeah.
At least a dozen people.
Is that crazy?
And then the other group.
Yeah.
Because I guess I was always lost because I saw some casinos,
And I
So
told
casinos
them,
still that have.
well, but I
I
saw
told them
it's like they had
that
pharmacists.
Uh,
But since his office is, he's
he's not the only one. We enjoyed it. I told them,
Shabbat shalom.
I'm no victor.
Wear your glasses.
I'm no problem.
Well, maybe you like suddenly conceived.
There should be three different arrangements going.
Eileen, that video to show you. How are you? It's good to see you. I haven't seen you. You sent a video. This thing was so outstanding. I forgot it.
did you know that?
What?
The ugly Moses is in the green room now.
I was looking for
It's in
it.
the
I
green
knew
room.
it came. Start tefillah at 11? We could talk forever in Torah study, couldn't we? Let me just keep going more and more. I'm not a morning person. Oh, I'm not a morning person either. Shh.
You've got a daughter in hiding there.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom, Eliana. Can you say Shabbat shalom? You never put a 5-year-old on the spot, right? I know there are a few more people still joining us as we were in Torah study, thick in conversation, a great way for us to start our Shabbat morning. But now let us transition from one version of Shabbat community to another version of Shabbat community, where we get to continue to exercise our minds, I would say, but in a slightly different way. Let us open our prayer books to page 192 and begin our morning prayers with that blessing that came out of the mouth instead of the curse with Ma Tovu. Please sing with me. Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ve'ani berov chastecha, avo beitecha, eshtacha ve'elhecha kodshecha, be'yiratecha, ma tovu, ma tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Adonai ahavti, me'on beitecha, umkon mishkan kevodecha, mishkan kevodecha, ve'ani eshtacha ve'echra lifnei Adonai, osi, ma tovu, ma tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, ve'ani tefilati lecha, Adonai et ratzon, Elohim berov chastecha, Elohim berov chastecha, aneni be'emet yishecha, ma tovu, ma tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. As we wake up in the morning, maybe you have your own morning routine. You do the same thing morning after morning after morning. And it's not until that morning where your routine for some reason changes that you think about how lucky you are. That from head to toe, from mind to soul is working in order to do that mundane routine morning after morning. So let us think about those steps. Think about the fact that our bodies were working at least enough to bring us to this moment. As we think of our souls and our minds coming together on this Shabbat, and we read together on page 194. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh kol basar umafli la'asot. Together on page 196. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biyado nefesh kol chai veruach kol basar ish. As we enter our Nisim B'Kol Yom, our blessings for daily miracles, I want us to think about our own daily miracles. We have pages here in our book that tell us things that we are grateful for, the easy things. But I want us to add our own, so think of your own as we join together beginning on page 198. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sachvivina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hainoten le'ayev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'aver sheina me'enai u'tshnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. So I want to give you a chance now, if anybody is willing to share. Was there any blessing, daily miracle that you thought of that you'd like to add to the ones we do in the morning? Nice. To be in community. Yeah.
Blessing that we can hear God's voice today. It's so freedom for us.
Nice. Wonderful.
I think it's a blessing every day to be able to just hear the sounds of nature.
Mm.
The birds chirp, the wind blow, sometimes the rain comes down.
Every day in Baton Rouge, the rain comes down. It's rained every day since I moved here. Yeah, sounds of blessings. Sounds like a book of poetry almost. Sounds of blessings. As we think about these blessings, let us add that blessing of being able to study, whether that be Torah, whether that be another text, whether that be Jewish, whether that be secular. And as we think of that, let us read together something that reminds us of things we're supposed to do every day because we have the opportunity to study texts and bring them to our modern lives. As we read together in English on page 206. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We turn to page 214. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot laDonai, ulizamer lishimcha elyon, ulizamer lishimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha balelot, alei yasur ve'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot laDonai, ulizamer lishimcha elyon, ulizamer lishimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai b'foalecha, b'maaseh yadecha aranein. Ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai, meod amku makshavotecha. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot laDonai, ulizamer lishimcha elyon, ulizamer lishimcha elyon. Page 215. Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, od yehalelucha sela. Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo, ashrei. Tehillah leDavid, arumimecha Elohai hamelech, va'avracha shimcha leolam va'ed. Gadol Adonai u'malal meod, ugdulato ein cheker. Hadar kevod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Zecher rav tucha yebi'u, v'titarcha yiranenu. Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugvuratecha yedaberu. Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'kol dor v'ador. Einei kol elecha yasai beru, va'atam noten lahem et ochlam be'ito. Tzadik Adonai b'kol derachav, v'chasid b'kol ma'asav. Retzon yereav ya'aseh, v'et shavatam yishman v'yoshiem. Tehillah Adonai yedaber pi, vayevarech kol basar shem kodsho leolam va'ed, va'anachnu nevarech ya me'ata hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehallelujah, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. As we continue on page 219, I invite Ben to lead us.
Thank you, Rabbi. We're fortunate in the shul because Joel can do nishmas, Miriam can do nishmas, I can do nishmas. So we have a number of people who can do nishmas, and fortunately, then we can trade it around, and each of us have the mitzvah once in a while. Okay, page 219. Nishmas kol chai, tvorech shimcha Adonai Eloheinu, v'ruach kol basar, Tvoris Romam Zichrocha Kenu Tomid Min Halam Viad Halam Atoel. Please join with me in reading the English on page 219. Let the soul of everything alive bless your name, Adonai, our God. And the spirit of all flesh glorify and exalt your name forever, O sovereign. Transcending space and time, you alone are God. We have no sovereign besides you, God of the first and the last, God of all creatures, Master of all generations, who is praised in a multitude of praises, who guides the world with abundant loving kindness and all creatures with mercy. Adonai neither slumbers nor sleeps. God awakens the sleeping, arouses those who slumber, gives speech to the mute, and God loosens the bonds of captives. God supports the fallen and strengthens those who are bent over. You alone do we acknowledge. Page 222. Ha'el b'satzumos uzecha hagadol b'chvo shemecha hagibor l'netzach v'anor b'norasecha hamelech hayoshev al kisei ram v'nisaha shochen v'kosev ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai la yesharim nava tehila b'fi yesharim tizhalal u'b'divrei tzadikim tizborach u'v'shon chasidim tizromaham u'v'kerev kadoshim tizkadash u'v'makalot v'rina yishtabach shimcha ligad malkeinu hoel hamelech hagodol v'akadosh b'shamayim u'v'oretz kilchono Eloheinu v'hoseinu shir u'shvacha halel v'zimra ozu memshala netzach gedula u'gvura tila v'siferes kedusha u'malchus brachos v'odos Baruch atah Adonai El melech gadol batishbachos El hodos Adon haniflos הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך יחיד, אל חיי עולמים.
We continue on page 224. Yit gadol v'yit kadash shemei rabba Be'alma divrach hirotei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'dechei dechol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uv'izman kariv ve'imeru Yehei shmei rabba mevorach Le'olam olam me'omaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha b'rechu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiron be'alma ve'imeru amen. I invite you to please rise. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed Hamevorach Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Page 228, together in the English. Praised are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom you form them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai our God, for the excellent work of your hands, and for shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hameorot. Page 230. Ahava rabba ahavtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, chem lagidola vitera, chamalta aleinu. Avinu malkeinu, bavor avotenu, Shabbat kuvecha, Avinu malkeinu. Vatelam dechu kechayim, kain techonenu tlamdenu, Avinu ha'av harachaman, hamrachem rachem aleinu. Vetin bilbeinu lehavin ulehaskil, lishma ulilamed, lishmar velasot. Ukayam ekol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ahava v'ha'erenenu b'toratecha v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha v'yached levaveinu le'ahava u'yera et shamecha, velo nevosh, velo nikalem, velo nikashel, leolam vaed, v'ha'erenenu b'toratecha, v'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha, v'yached levavenu le'ahava u'yira et shamecha. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. I invite you, if it is your custom, to please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol lavavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam livanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvleftecha v'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Page 237. Let us read together. Life without integrity is like loosely hanging threads, easily fraying from the main cloth, while in acts of piety we learn to understand that every instant is like a thread, raveling out of eternity to form a delicate tassel. We must not cast off the threads, but weave them into the design of an eternal fabric. Each day points to eternity. The fate of all time depends upon a single moment. As we think about the words of Micha Mocha, that it is the liturgical prayer that reminds us of freedom. It's the words that our ancestors sang as they crossed the shores of the sea. But I'm curious, if anybody's brave enough to share, why do we say this every single day today? Why do we need to remind ourselves about freedom? What is it about freedom that it's so important to remember every time we come together?
Easily taken away.
Mm-hmm.
It's said that if you don't remember the past, you're destined to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
It's easily lost.
So I know for many of us in this room, we're here because we resonate with a certain tune of the way we sing things. Micha Mocha is like the liturgical prayer that almost can be set to anything, right? So when you go to the different festivals, you sing Micha Mocha to a different tune. The one that's probably well known is during Hanukkah. You can sing Micha Mocha to Ma'ot Sur, right? And there are different moments where you sing a different tune of Micha Mocha. And something I have learned in the past about month of me being here I don't even think I've led a month full of Shabbat services, is my tunes and your tunes might not necessarily be the same. And the really cool thing standing up here that I've learned is your tunes and your tunes might not necessarily be the same. And I love the participation of everyone coming together and singing together. We're saying the same thing, but we might not be saying it in the same way. If you think about it, that's really the way we communicate anyway. I might say something and you might understand it in a different way. And when we've been praying together for the past month, there are certain moments, if you're listening, it's happened twice this morning already, where I might be singing something different than somebody else, or that we're doing different things each time. So, before we sing Mi Chamocha, indulge me. What is your favorite tune of Mi Chamocha? Okay. No ra tehilot osei fele. And that probably brings back memories, right, of, I'm going to guess, wherever you went to shul, maybe high holidays, brings back some memories of high holidays. That is the tune specifically that we do most of the time on high holidays. Other tunes? Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, no ra tehilot osei fele, no ra tehilot osei fele. Other tunes? Yeah, the jazz. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, no ra tehilot osei fele, osei fele. Was that the one you were referencing? Others? So what is this teaching us? Each one of us resonates with music differently. Each one of us has an opportunity to teach the other our tunes. There are some people that are transported to a different time. I can tell you there are certain tunes that I get transported back to the congregation where I grew up, where honestly most of the time I was counting the bricks behind the ark because I went to services a lot as a kid. Like She Plays with Bricks, I counted bricks. But they transport us to a time, a space. They make us feel together. And I think that's the beauty of prayer. We can be sitting here. You might be sitting next to someone who has a completely different belief in what, or whatever word you want to put there, they are praying to. You might have a different vision of why you're here. But all of the collective of bringing them together, for me, that's the freedom. That's the ability to come here, be a diverse group of people, and sing 45 different tunes of Mi Chamocha. There are so many. And I think we heard a few of them this morning. So I want you just to think about that as we pray together. Think about singing and bringing our voices together, even if they don't match. Because I bet you our views don't match. And for me, that's the joy of freedom, that we have the ability to be here freely to do that. So keep that on your mind as we enter our tefillah, our Amidah, on page 242. And I invite you to please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chasei Avot Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Hozer Moshiach Umanin, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atavra Le'oshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevuro, Umidom Ela, Melech Memid, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah L'chayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, Mekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Keshem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shmei Marom, Kakatuv al Yad Nevi'echa, V'karazel Zeh Ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tsevaot, Melech kol haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha lekol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai, Milchamo, Echad hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Ve'hu Yashmienu, Verachamav Le'nei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yitzion, Ledor vador, Hallelujah, Ledor vador nagid God lecha, U'netzach netzachim kedushata nakdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush, le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. I invite you to be seated. Page 250, let us sing together. Yesmechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Yesmechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shevi Shabbat, Kulam Yisbe'u, Ve'yitantu bitu Vecha Shabbat, Yesmechu Ve'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Yesmechu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Chemdat yamim oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Zecher Lema'aseh v'reishit Shabbat. Zecher Lema'aseh v'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Let us join together on page 253. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories flowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. 255. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer to life, to peace, and to joy. May we find true rest, holiness in our deeds, worth in our study of Torah. Let us feed on the love of goodness. Let us drink from the love of goodness. Restrain our thirst for excess and cleanse our hearts to serve life well. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer in life, in peace, and in joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levarecha b'yirah na'avod. 257. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose. We pray that we live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulacha ne'eh lehodot. As we enter the liturgical prayer that reminds us how important it is to bring peace into our lives. I'm putting you on the spot a lot this morning. I'm curious if we have ways that we want to share in our modern world that we can bring a little bit more peace to our world. It's a hard question, right? The answer could be as simple as a smile, being nice to someone, interacting with people when we go places, then it can get much bigger.
Reduce inequities.
Mm. Others?
I was talking to, I was trying to be a part of the solution, I call it.
Tonight tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So when we pray, we're bringing God into the equation. He's the solution.
Turn off the TV more.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barcheinu yotzreinu kulanu ke'echad, be'or panecha. Ki ve'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Torat chayim ve'ahavat chesed, ve'ahavat chesed, utzedaka uvracha ve'rachamim, ve'chayim ve'shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed ve'rachamim ve'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, ve'tov be'einecha, levarech et amcha Yisrael, be'kol eit uv'chol sha'a bishlomecha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment now for silent prayer. Either words that are standing out to you in the prayer book this morning, or words you find in your own hearts. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. We've come to that moment in our service where we turn to Torah. Seder Kriyat HaTorah LeShabbat, the service for reading Torah on Shabbat, begins on page 362. Originally, I was going to ask Rabbi Josh to hold the Torah for us also. But I want to, anybody feeling strong and want to help come up to the ark with me in a moment and be, you can say no and I'll make him do it, don't worry. But being the one, I won't make him do it. He will have the joy of doing it. I'm going to change my words there since words are so important. But I wanted the opportunity of anybody else in the room. We are using the blue one. I will preempt it with that because it is heavy. You want to come on up? So Mark's going to come help us at the ark. We're on page 362. Eliana, do you want to help open the ark? No? Okay. Page 362, and I invite you to rise. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemsheltecha b'kol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch leolam v'ed, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, av harahamim, heitiv al irtzonecha et Zion, tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, tivrecha levaratavnu, melech el ram v'nisa, adon olamim, ki mitzion teisei Torah, ki mitzion teisei Torah, udevar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad, keep holding, Heinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlu Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo Yachtav. We walk around with it. Lecha Adonai Hagedula, V'Hagedura, V'Hatiferet, V'Hanetzach, V'Hahod, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz, Lecha Adonai Hamacha, V'Yamit Naseh Lechol Erosh. Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Omed, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ve'ilut Chasadim. Please keep singing. I can't give directions, sing, and do. It's too many things for me. Okay, now can you put it down? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can get it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please be seated. I was never the kid that could, what are you supposed to do? Tap your head and rub your belly. I'm much better at it now, but like giving directions while singing and taking stuff off of the Torah, it's just a lot of steps. So please, thank you to the voices who kept singing so we could keep going. This morning, we are reading from the beginning of Maseh, which in our Chumash, it's not in the right spot. 954, Henry always gets it before me. Thank you for helping. So while we're getting to the correct spot in our Torah, this week's Torah portion, and we have a double Torah portion, we're reading the beginning of the second of the double Torah portion of Maseh, and it's kind of like a travel journal, right? It's the recounting of all of the places that the Israelites have stopped. Sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, if you were going to say something. And a lot of people ask, like, why is precious real estate in our Torah taken up by a AAA triptych? You guys remember those? My parents still use them. Anybody else still use them? They still make them. I think you have to do it online. You can ask my parents. They'll be here next week. Hi, Mom and Dad, if you're watching on YouTube. Like, this is like a AAA triptych, right, of the trip that they've taken. So a lot of people ask the question, why? Why is precious real estate in Torah taken up by recounting where we've been? Anybody have any thoughts before we read it?
How treacherous, how difficult the trip was, how miraculous it was, and how God provided us through it.
Yeah.
As they always say, that enjoy the journey as much as the destination.
Yeah. Is that what you were going to say, Elsa? Yeah. Yeah. The journey is, that's what this is about. It'd be a much shorter scroll. It'd be so much lighter weight if we didn't know about the actual journey, right? And remembering where we came from helps us figure out where we're going, right? And of course, our commentators think every dot, every scribble, every word, if it made it into the Torah, it's important. And so there's so many lessons for us. This is also the oral tradition of passing down the trip from generation to generation. I'm sure you do that today. Think of like a really great life-altering experience you had, and then you passed it down and you passed it down, right? The very first time I saw the Kotel, the Western Wall in Israel, I was 16. Everybody told me I was going to have this like amazing spiritual moment as a 16-year-old at the Kotel. And I'm honestly going to share with you, the first time I went to the Kotel, it was a pile of bricks. It was nothing for me. And I think it was because I was 16, and because you too, and because everybody also 16, we did not know each other though. Everybody told me what to feel. No one told me a story about it. I mean, I knew the story, but everybody told me what to feel. It was a pile of bricks. Not until I lived in Israel and my parents came to visit. And aside from the fact that my dad was really impressed that I could walk them from my apartment through the old city to the Kotel without getting them lost. If you've ever done that walk, it's really easy to get lost in the old city. The Kotel, for me, became really, really special when I was there with my parents. And it's because then my mom told me about my grandmother being there, who was no longer living at the time. And it's that, like, stories of our trip and our journey that can make things come alive for us. And that's the same thing. The reminder of this journey they're taking brings it alive for them before they cross the Jordan and get into the promised land. It's also a lot about community. They want everybody to know that they're together, they're in it together. So in that thought of community, I'm going to invite this community, anyone who wants to, you're allowed to say no, but wants to participate in having the honor of that blessing, the aliyah, before we read some Torah, to stand where you are and join together in this blessing. Do I have any takers? Oh, Henry and Drew. No, there's more. Please. So I'll be me and anybody who chooses to stay seated will be the congregation. And thank you to our community members who will be those having the aliyah. So go for it. 1, 2, 3, Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed.
Ele Maseh B'nai Yisrael Asher Yatzu Me'eretz Mitzrayim L'tzivotam B'yad Moshe Ve'Aharon Vayachtov Moshe Et Motzehem L'Masehem Al Pi Adonai Ve'ele Masehem L'Motzehem Vayisu Me'Ramses B'Chodesh Harishon B'Chamisha Asar Yom L'Chodesh Harishon Mimcherat HaPesach Yatzu b'nei Yisrael b'yad Ramah le'enei kol Mitzrayim. U'Mitzrayim mekabrim et asher hika Adonai bahem kol b'chor uvelohehem asa Adonai shefatim v'yas'u b'nei Yisrael me Ramses v'yachnu basukot.
Beautiful. Thank you. I invite those who were standing to stand again and join together in our after blessing. 1, 2, 3. Amen. Thank you. Yep. So we ended, we didn't read the very, very end, but this Shabbat we end, you're not lifting it, the book of Numbers. So it is traditional to offer each other strength. You want to, okay. He's going to roll to the end so we can see the break when he lifts it. So we offer each other strength by saying together, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. May we each be strengthened by our learning, by our reading, by our connection to those stories, to those moments, whether it be on journeys or whether it be every day. At this moment in our service with our Sefer Torah in our midst, we pause to think of those in need of healing of body, healing of spirit, and healing of mind. This morning, our congregation is thinking of Joy Lewis, Lucy Silva, Christine Weil, Minna Bat Yentl, Mordechai Ben Dina, Rowan Hausman, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Friedel Tamara Bat Liba Bela, Manucha Pesha Bat Charne Umosha, Gretchen Haynes, Dorian Reeson, Steve Sinkoff, Linda Weinstein, and Zachary Cavalier. If there are others you are thinking of this morning, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. Our Mishaberach prayer of healing can be found on page 371, and we pray for all who are ill. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu Who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a Mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I invite you to please rise. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. And it's on the past tense. No, I need you to do all of this. Can you get those? Wonderful, wonderful. You may be seated. Anybody want to come volunteer to hold the Torah so he can continue to entertain the 5-year-old? Thank you. None of us want to fast, right? I need to have a person up here with me. We are in that 3-week period of time between the 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, which, I don't know, Jeopardy question, I don't think they'll ever ask about Tisha B'Av on Jeopardy, but this year, Tisha B'Av is actually not on the 9th, but on the 10th, because you cannot commemorate Tisha B'Av on Shabbat, and the way the calendar works this year, Tisha B'Av is a Shabbat, so we will start Saturday evening, and you commemorate Tisha B'Av Saturday evening into Sunday, but in reality it's not actually the 9th of Av, because that's how the Jewish calendar works. There are more exceptions than there are rules. And so we are in a special Haftarah. I'm glad you remembered that. Do I have any takers for Haftarah? I'm always gonna, when I only know skills and talents of a few people in the room, and I know Joel happens to have that skill and talent, I know you volunteered graciously last Shabbat also, but it was beautiful. But before I just not make, right, I didn't make him do it. It would give Joel the joy of chanting Haftarah for us. I just want to make sure. Wait, do you mind? So in our Chumash 973 is the beginning of it. You're going on vacation soon though, right? So I can only call it so many more times. Thank you, thank you.
No problem. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'liim tovim, v'ratzah b'divreihem הנאמרים באמת, ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ומשעתו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת וצדק. שמעו דבר אדוני בית יעקב וכל משפחות בית ישראל. כה אמר אדוני, מה מצאו אבותיכם בי עובר, כי רחקו מעלי, וילכו אחרי החבל, ויבולו, ולא אמרו, איה אדוני, המעלה אותנו מארץ מצרים, המוליך אותנו במדבר, ערבה ושוחה, בארץ צייה וצמוות, בארץ לא עבר בה איש, ולא ישב אדם שם, ואביא אתכם אל ארץ הכרמל, לכל פריה וטובה, ותבואו ותמו את ארצי, ונחלתי שמתם לתועבה. הכהנים לא אמרו, איה אדוני, וטוב שא התורה לא ידעוני, והרועים פרשו בי, והנביאים ניבאו בבער, ואחרי לא יועילו הלכו. לכן ארי ביתכם נאום אדוני, ואת בני בניכם אריב, כי עברו יהיה חיתויים יראו, וכדאי שילכו והתבוננו מאוד. וראו אין הייתה כזאת, החמיר גוי אלוהים, וחמלו אלוהים, ומי אמיר כבודו ולא יועיל איל. שמעו שמיים על זאת, וסערו, חרבו מכל נאום אדוני, כי שתיים רעות עשה עמי, אותי עזבו, מקור מים חיים, לחצור להם בורות נשברים, אשר לא יכילו המוים. העבד ישראל, אם יליד בית הוא, מדוע היה לו אז? Allah Yishagu Chavirim Natnu Kolam Vayashitu Artsoho Lishamaha Arav Mitztu Mibli Yoshev Gam B'neinov V'tachpanchem Yiruch Kodko Halozot Taselach Asvech et Adonai Elohayich Beit Molichech Badorech V'yata Malach L'derech Mitzrayim Lishtot mei Shichor U'malach L'derech Ashur Lishtot mei Nohor Tiyas rech Ra'otech Shuvotayich Tochichuch Udi Kira V'mahar Azvach Et Adonai Elohayich V'lo pachtati elayich Ne'um Adonai Ad Hashem Tzavot Ki me'olam Shovarti ulech Nitakti mosrotayich Vatomari lo evor Ki al kogiva Giva V'tachat kalei zanam Atzo azona V'anachi netati soreh Kula zera emet V'hek nechpachti li Surai hagefen nachriach Ki im tachpasi baneter V'tarbilach morit Nichtam avonech lefonai Nehum Adonai Ad Hashem Lech tomari Lo nitmeti Acharei Habolim Lo halachti Rahi dakech Magayim Bagai Dahi me'asit Michra kalam Mesarechet Derachecha Pere Limud Midbar Ba'ava Nafshah Shafar Ruach Ta'anotami Yashivela Kol Meraksheha Lo Yafu B'chadsha Yami Yimsa Una Min Iraglech Miachech Ugronech Mitzmah V'tomri no ahash Lo Ki ahavti zarim V'acharehem elech Kevoshet Gadna Ki yimatzeh Ken Hovishu Beit Yisrael Hema Malchehem Sarehem Vechohanehem Unviehem Omrim Laetz Aviatar V'lo Even Ahad Yalitanu Kifanu Elai Orech Velo Fanim Uvehitratam Yomruhu Kuma V'Hoshienu V'Haye Elohecha Asher Asita Laha Yakumu Im Yoshiucha B'Chetratecha Ki Misparecha Ayu Elohecha Yidam Alo Me'ata Karat Li Avi Aluf Naurai Ataham Yimtashu Yisrael Neum Adonai Elai Tashu Vayimtasi Shikutzecha Miponai Velotanu B'mishpata Chai Adonai V'emet b'mishpat Uvitzdatkam V'yitbarchu V'ho Goyim Uvoyitalalu Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzedek v'olamim Tzadik v'kol hadorot Hoya ne'eman Omer v'oseh מדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. Join in על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו וקדושה ולמלכה וכבוד לא תפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפיך חי תמיד לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Why does it say Ashkenazim should stop?
What a great question. So, Rachel and I laugh over here. The Haftarot are different if you are Ashkenazic or if you are Sephardic. But there have also been changes throughout history. The reason Rachel and I giggle is because we were just looking up a Haftarah that goes with, what was it, Vayishlach? That goes with Vayishlach. And if you look at our Chumash, it gives Obadiah. If you look at the Plaut Chumash, if you look at the Hertz Chumash, if you look at other places, it gives Hosea. If you do a little research, which happens to be when I find something that it has a discrepancy, I see what research I can do. All I found so far is that Ashkenazim did one and Sephardim did another, but then later on historically changes have been made, right? So 3 Jews, 45 opinions. So I will tell you, it was interesting that that conversation started because I posted on the Reform Rabbis Facebook group, like, who can tell me more? I am very interested who can tell me more. And what did I learn? not an answer to my question, which happens a lot when rabbis ask rabbis questions, but instead the rabbi who is currently working on a new change even for the Reform movement of different Haftarot. Because when we read Haftarah, some of them have direct connections to the Torah portion. Some of them you might read through and be like, why is this the chosen one to go with that? And so there's a new project actually being worked on right now. I have no idea when it will be published, of some rabbis thematically and calendarly figuring out a new change even for more options of Haftarot. So our very quick single question that I thought would get a quick answer dove me down a very interesting rabbit hole.
I think that, reading on, I think that the whole Haftorah is a kind of redemption for what happened in Marseille. And looking at it from an empathetic point of view, I can understand it because redemption is there. And we're going into a period where we want to find out where we are in the book of life.
Yeah,
So
very nice. Thank you.
it fits.
Yeah. Well, we could talk Haftarah, I'm sure, all day, just like I said 500 times in Torah today that we could talk whatever topic that was all day. But let us return to our prayer books so we can return our Torah to the Ark, page 374. Yahalelu at Shem Adonai ki nizgav shemo levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted. Are you comfortable going up there? Hodo al eretz ve'shamayim ve'yarek le'amo tehila lechol hasidav livnei Yisrael am kerobo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ki lekachitov natati lechem torati al ta'azovu. Eitz chaim hi lemachazim ba v'tomchecha meushar derachecha darkei noam v'kol netivotecha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva. Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu Keketem. I'm actually going to invite you to remain standing. We're going to turn now to page 586 and immediately continue with the words of Aleinu. Page 586. Aleinu l'shabbat l'adon hakol, la'atei gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanim kigoyei haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, v'goralenu kekol ha'onam, va'anachnu horim, u'mishachavim As our prayers draw to a close on this Shabbat morning, we turn our thoughts to our loved ones who are no more. This morning, as a congregation, we remember two taken from us in the past 30 days, John Wormser and Robert Eisenbach. We also think of those who passed away during the past year, Richard Stone, Jimmy Brownleader, Michael Carpenter, Wallace Dunham, Sheila Parker, Francis Edelman, Jean Eisenbach, Fred Cantor, Miriam Grossman, Elizabeth Saxey, Marvin Bender, Donald Ostern, Elaine Garver, Robert Feldman, Eileen Burton, Virginia Gordon, Bruce Dunham, Jim Bowman, R.B. Dickerson, Moni Mayer, and Joanne Strickler. We also think of those who died at this season in years past and whose family members are observing the Yortzeit, the anniversary of death. Dorothy Allison, Mark Becker, Carolyn Bronfen, Benjamin Cherry, David Cruvant, Sam Elisar, Elisa Ginsberg, Shirley Hutt, Teresa Laura, Ada Kessler, Herman Noor, Donnie Mabry, Frank McGuire, Seymour Pizer, Leonard Rosenson, Sam Sarr, Ada Shackleton. If there are others you are thinking of, or if you'd like to correct any of my mispronunciation, I invite you to share those names aloud as my eyes meet yours. We think of those names said aloud and those whom we hold in our hearts as we turn together to page 598. And if it is your custom, I invite you to please rise. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach hirotev yamlich malchute, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach Leolam Ulamei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitroman V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shmei D'Kudasha B'richu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Ta'amiran Be'alma V'imru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zikronam livracha, may all their memories be for a blessing. As together we say, Amen. You may be seated. You wanna?
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Thank you for joining us for services this morning. Tonight you can join Havdalah on Zoom, hosted by the Saxys. The link was sent out in the weekly email. On Sunday, join the Men's Club at 9:30 a.m. That's tomorrow morning, to discuss possibilities for kind of reorganization and future programs. The rescheduled welcome events for Rabbi Smiley and her family will now happen next weekend. That's Friday, August 5th and Saturday, August 6th. Please RSVP if you plan to attend so we know how much food to provide. Also RSVP if you need babysitters. Join us at 7:30 p.m. Saturday, August 6th for Havdalah and discussion in order to commemorate Tish B'Av, the 9th of Av, which is the day in history where many disasters befell the Jewish people. The corned beef sandwich sale is on August 21st, 10 to 2. This is an important program for our congregation. You can pre-order online. Please find